to agree to draw the lake down.
Thanks, Mark.
Lee?
Thank you.
Just a comment, Lee, and then I have some things to
Okay.
say.
My name's Lee Brewer, and I live on the lake also. And thank you for all you do. Thank you to Mark and everyone here who does so much to help this lake. May I just ask a question? Is it possible that while we need to do this drawdown to repair the dam, why can't we make that or you need to repair the dam, why can't we make the drawdown be helpful towards the repair and check off 2 boxes at once?
Go to ProAg.
I can answer that question for you, because if the lake is below the level of the gate, below the level of the spillway, and they need to shut all the gates off to work on the dam, they get down and work on those gates, there's no water going over the spillway, and turn your drying out the brook, going down towards Alpine, you can't do that. That's what, water's gotta run over the dam, or out the
But
gates.
they're going to need to do this to repair the dam, correct?
Right, but if the lake is up to full level, it's gonna go over the spillway, then it's gonna run down the brook where it belongs. If you got it below the spillway, and they gotta shut all the gates to work on it, so for their safety, so they don't get sucked into them, you're having water going over. You can't do that.
Okay, so let me just say a few things. Mark, you mentioned stakeholders and you point to the people in this room. I have to remind you, every single taxpayer in the town of Dannemora
In the state of
is
New
a
York,
stakeholder.
Except those of us who do not live in Dannemora do not vote for energy people.
Right, but you're
We
still a
have no
stakeholder.
voice, we have no voice that has any weight.
Repair taxes.
Yes,
Excuse me?
All the
Repair
people
taxes,
who live
right?
here also pay taxes at the gas
okay.
station, at the grocery store. We
okay,
work here.
hold on. We're not gonna turn this into let me just say what I wanted to say. Hand harvesting, I do wanna bring up that this year, whoever was hand harvesting next in front of the dam, that a lot of pieces of milfoil ended up going on that stone wall there and down through the dam. I don't know who was collecting there, but a lot of it got away from them. Fluctuation of the lake, you said Lake Champlain. Yes, Lake Champlain does fluctuate up. It doesn't fluctuate down. It doesn't leave any docks with boats sitting where there's no water. So the fluctuation that you're talking about, yes, there's a huge fluctuation. Lake Champlain happens to be a lot bigger than Chazy Lake, but the fluctuation doesn't leave people with mud flats or or their boats out on a dock where there's no water, that kind of thing. Last year, it was not the eclipse. That was the reason why, what's his face, didn't want the drawdown. Can't think of his name now.
Tom.
Hickey, that's right. But that was not why we didn't do the drawdown. We didn't do it because we didn't have the data that we are looking for. And as far as grandfathered in, and we've had this discussion before, there's never been a policy put in place to say that we are going to do a drawdown every 3 years. That was something that came up, and we've had this discussion before where that came about and how it came about, so I'm not going to bring it up. And lastly, I don't know, whoever you talk to in the APA and DEC are totally different people than who we talk to at the APA and DEC, because we're getting totally opposite responses and information from them. And then I'm going to take one more comment on this, and then we have to move on. Lori.
I'm going to read a letter or an email that I sent to DEC, or the DEC, if you don't mind. Not as long as Mark's.
Read fast.
It's to the point. To whom it may concern, as per my conversation with an individual, I'm writing about the fragile ecosystem of Chazy Lake. On August 28, 2024, there will be a town board meeting at 5 o'clock at Dannemora Town Hall regarding a 2.5 foot drawdown of the lake. I was a member of the Dannemora Town Board from 2010 to 2014, when the drawdown started as an experiment to eradicate milfoil in the lake. There have been many drawdowns since. When this was initially started, long-term effects of the fragile ecosystem were not taken into account. And because of these actions, there are no longer crawfish or lake mussels living in the lake.
That's not true.
That's a lie. I can go get you 12 in 5 minutes. I'll be back by 6 o'clock.
Okay.
and I'll have a bucket.
Okay.
Let her have,
Let-
she's got the floor, let's
Please.
respect her issue on the floor.
I did not interrupt you, Mr. Gosling.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Habitat protection for the loons, blue herons, eagles, geese, and other wildlife around Shazy Lake is affected, as is aquatic species who live closer to the shoreline, where they use the shoreline to hide and protect themselves. Lowering the lake level also drains the shorelines, affecting aquatic insects that feed on plant life and fish and frogs that may also spawn there. The list is endless as to the effects of the drawdown. In the last 7 or more years, human habitation along the shores of Shazy Lake has also affected the health of the lake. People now believe the drawdown is a way of preventing ice damage to their shorelines and a time to improve their shorelines by removing large rocks and adding sand. It is also known that Eurasian water milfoil, which is what we have in this lake, is a symptom of excessive nutrients such as phosphorus and nitrogen, and that comes from septic systems. Control of overabundant aquatic plants is best accomplished by reducing the nutrient sources from the lake by properly preventing and maintaining septic systems. Not preventing, but properly maintaining. I believe an in-depth study should be done on Shazy Lake before any more drawdowns to see how this has harmed and eradicated native species that were once numerous in the lake. A study of septic systems should also be done, as it may be contributing to the erosion of the once healthy lake. I spoke to a person from the DEC, and they're also concerned about this. And they agree with a long-term study to see, and they know what species live in the lake.
Who'd you
All
talk
this-
to, Lori?
Excuse me?
Who did you chat with at DC?
A woman. They didn't give me their name, we just
Oh,
had a
okay.
conversation,
Okay.
all right? And they know the people, they are the marine, or water biologists, marine biologists, what do you wanna call them? They have degrees in this, they know what's in the lake. You know, because that's their business to know what species are in the freshwater lakes and the Adirondacks.
Lori, did you get a response to your letter that we could have also?
I have not gotten a response yet, so I've called again, and, I'm waiting on a response. This response was, they were sending it to, Region 5, okay? So I spoke to someone in Region 5 today, it was a woman, the person that was in charge was in a meeting, so they were going to forward my, email. And basically, you know, there's a lot of up and downs with this. You know, Mr. Dunicourt says that it's not natural to hold the water to a certain level. Well, and we're having a problem with the dam. Well, there's always a solution to that. Let the dam go and let the lake go back to its natural level that it was years ago before Mr. Meyer put the dam in. And then you will lose a lot of your lakefront property because the lake will shrink. So you won't have to worry about water damage because the lake will be at its natural level. So there's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
All right? And to me, I mean, you guys have homes on the lake, all right? And that's wonderful. But you also have to remember that the life of the lake is more important than shore damage. Okay? That's all I'm asking.
Okay, we really need to cut this off.
I really need to say something.
If you can do it in 2 minutes.
Okay. My camp is only about, maybe 15 feet from the lake. 5 years ago, when they did the drawdown, we went to APA and went to DEC, and they agreed that we could do the waterfront to their specs, which was a 2-foot bank. Okay, so we did. So now, all that ice is coming in, pushing all those rocks either into the bank or down the bank. So my property is getting closer to the lake and closer to the lake. Who's gonna pay for when my camp falls in that lake? If we had a drawdown, we could fix the problem of the waterfront again. I live in a cove, and all that ice likes to come into that cove and just ran into our bank. I can prove that because the neighbors around the cove, they've got great big rocks there on their beach that was never there before. Where the rocks come from, I don't know, maybe it came from my waterfront. But we spent a lot of money fixing the front, the way the APA and DEC said we had to do it, and it ain't working. So what am I supposed to do now? I can't fall from the lake?
Trees and flora will prevent the erosion of lakefront property. I know it might obscure your
Wait a
view.
minute.
Okay, wait a minute, we are, okay, we have these opinions about this, this is not, we're not gonna continue with this, this is not what this is about, so, we really need to move on. I know there's several comments that are for the drawdown that still want to be said. I'm in my office tomorrow, call me. It doesn't have to be here at the meeting that you say this. I understand that, I know there's a lot. I got phone calls after we had the public hearing, when was that? 2 years ago? There were many people here that were for the drawdown. All the phone calls I got in my office were against the drawdown. So, you know, surveys are great, and it just depends on who answers them. You know, you had 240 people answer. They were probably the ones that were for it. So, you know, it's, you know, damn lies, statistics, and, you know, that whole saying about statistics and surveys and whatnot, but we really do need to move on. I welcome you to call me in my office or talk to me after this meeting, but we've got to get to the rest of
So
the
if
day.
you're saying we can call you tomorrow, that means you guys aren't voting on it tonight?
No,
Okay.
yeah.
So do you know
it's-
when you're gonna vote on
We are not going to vote on it. We're
it?
not.
At all?
At all. It's, no, we need to take care of the dam and,
When's that gonna happen?
excuse me?
Do you have a date of when someone's gonna show up and look at the dam and say, we're gonna come here on such and such a date?
Yeah, I have the company that's going to be doing it, Seaway Diving, is who is going to be repairing the gates. And I have talked to the owner, Tim Joslin, and he gave me, we're either gonna be here the 3rd week of September or the 4th week of September, and they're just lining up the crane.
If they need to lower the lake, will we be advised?
Yes.
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 Yeah, I
And
think
for all these people who haven't signed up for Text by Gov,
Okay.
this is a perfect opportunity because I can send something out. For example, the other night we had a water break in Lime Mountain. I sent a Text My Gov to those people in the water district who signed up to let them know that there could be a disruption because we had a water break. If you don't know what Text My Gov is, go on our website and you can sign up, and basically if there's a town-wide thing that needs to be put out or a district-wide thing, I text it, you're gonna get it on your phone.
Will the east end of the dam undermining be repaired at the same time as the gates are being repaired?
No, because FEMA is still looking over that paperwork.
And it's possible that they may have to lower the lake.
It is possible that, I mean,
That's correct.
and the DEC, you know, and of course, FEMA's working in concert with the DEC dam people.
Because
And they may tell us in May, lower the lake. I mean,
when they repaired the gates 30 years ago,
mhm.
they lowered the lake lots.
Now, we have a plug
Do you have,
now.
do you have the records from that happening back then?
I don't well, we have them here, but I
Okay, no, I'm
have,
just wondering if,
Yeah.
if that, is that a possibility that may happen when they come to repair the gates? Or they know exactly what they're doing?
they know what they're doing, and we have plugs that go in there that have a rubber gasket around it, they blow up and it pressurizes, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, I can't guarantee that that something's not gonna go wrong, but obviously I feel that nothing will go wrong. These are professionals that work on dams all the time, so.
Yeah, if we get the approval from FEMA to take care of the water break area on the east end of the dam, they're gonna have to lower the lake because they sure hell can't pour concrete and water.
Yeah, so. Yes, yes, you can.
Well,
Just a quick question. I'm confused. There's no board vote on whether you're going to consider a drawdown or not?
No.
That doesn't sound very.
To me, with all due respect,
Sorry.
and I can't imagine having your job
Doesn't
there,
sound like
so
it.
with all due respect,
No, that's fine.
there's just two things that I would like to say. I remember reading an.
Hang on, please.
Adirondack, did I, what?
No, you go ahead.
Adirondack Explorer about the dire need of the dam in Shazy Lake, and I remember kind of scratching my head, being
Yeah.
fearful of that. So I hear what you're saying. However, as far as the survey goes, Deb, when you say, probably most of the people responded that really did want to have the drawdown, that's true. But if we do a survey, we can't be responsible for people that aren't involved enough,
Right.
that see it on Facebook, that have been reached out, to by several people. I think it was designed to hear both sides really fairly. So what would we do differently if we do a survey? We just can't be responsible.
No, you can't,
for those
and
people.
there's, you survey 200
So you have to
people,
listen to
and we
what
have
you get.
2,000 people in town, so I mean,
Yeah.
your survey was,
No, 200 people responded.
right. That's what I'm saying, you have that many responses, but there's 2,000 people in town. Make it very, very short.
It sounds like election denial to me.
1,800 people don't care.
Okay,
I'll try to make it short as.
I mean, you've got 2 minutes and then I'm stopping
All
you.
right.
So let me address your question.
I'd like an answer.
Let me address your
because
question.
It seems like all board decisions are just tossed out.
So I think to your point, I mean, again, I'm trying to be as compassionate as I can towards you. Things come up out of our control. We knew somewhat that one of the gates were in dire need of repair. We knew that.
Yeah.
But to get these people on a calendar takes almost a year in advance to get them on a calendar.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, I do believe this, and the rest of the board can chime in, I do believe that if it wasn't for some of the things happening now with the dam, the breakwater issue, I mean, you just gotta go down, just stick your head underneath it, and you'll see what we're talking about. I think you would have had a vote tonight, honestly. But I think as our preferences as elected officials move, and we must remain flexible with what we have in front of us, and then prioritize the importance of certain projects. Right now, I believe the dam is a higher priority at this point than having a vote tonight on whether we're gonna do a drawdown or not.
Let me just make one more about the thing in the
To answer the
Adirondack.
question, the fact that they're not voting is a vote against the drawdown. That's the effect. So let's deal with honesty. Okay, the second thing is, yes, this dam is important. But you've known since last year when I stood here along with a room full of people, the majority of which said they wanted the drawdown. What were we told then? Well, we think it's 50-50. I got a lot of calls afterwards. But you knew there was a strong sentiment
You don't
for a
have to
drawdown.
be so loud.
Okay. Am I intense? Am I frustrated? Yes. The dam is important, yes. But because you knew the sentiment of the majority, we should have been able to get an answer from the experts as to whether we could do a drawdown. It's 2 months before, and we still don't know whether they will need a drawdown. They might need one, they might not need one. That is an answer that we should have had when we first heard that there was a problem and that we had experts that were going to address it. The first question should have been, can we have a drawdown and you still do the work? Obviously, that question was never asked. Why? Secondly, you have us in a catch-22. Last year we told you, we've got someone who will pay. We already knew the effect of the milfoil. We didn't know the effect on other critters and plant life. We had someone who was going to pay for that study.
That's right.
So that you would know before the drawdown and afterwards. So now we're getting told by catch-22 we can't do the drawdown because we don't know what effect it's going to have on other
But you don't
people.
have the survey. The person didn't follow through with doing the survey, so we don't have that data.
Well,
And
you
we
didn't have
can't
the
have that
drawdown.
data.
But my point is, if you want to know the effect of the drawdown, you study before and you study afterwards. You have to have the drawdown to know the before and the afterwards, and we're being caught in a catch-22. You
No,
can't
you're
have the
not,
drawdown.
because where is the data before?
We were willing to do the data before the drawdown last year. We had someone who would pay for it. We were
And
gonna
Mark
do
told me that you had somebody that was willing to do it this year as well. You had the money for it and whatnot, and that person fell out. So it's not the
That's not-
town's fault that that survey
That's not
isn't being
accurate.
done.
That's not accurate, and I just told you what we're gonna do, this new plankton.
That is not the study that we agreed to earlier this year.
The
And,
point,
okay, finish up, B, because we're
the
done.
point is, you have to have a drawdown. You study before, you have the drawdown, you study after.
And that's,
Instead, you have an
that's
idea.
exactly what we
But
agreed
don't
to.
deny us the drawdown with a catch-22. We can't do the drawdown because we don't have the data before and after.
That's right.
That's my frustration. And my frustration is I wish I could stand here and in good faith say that I think everyone is acting in good faith. Because there are red herrings out there. Because we stood here last year and voiced our sentiment. And because we could have had an answer by today whether that dam repair would have been able to go forward with a drawdown or not. We should have had that answer by today.
Have you ever had your car repaired? And you walk, and you drive in there and you think that, well, I need this fixed. And all of a sudden they tell you, you have 15 other things that need to be fixed. This is the same thing. We can't predict what they're going to see. They can't predict until they go down there. They're not going down
Did
there.
anyone ask them that question? Did anyone ask them that question?
No.
Thank you.
You know, B, you know one of the things that's actually frustrating to me,
Finish up.
just listening.
And you want a frustrating job? Come sit in my chair.
So let me tell you, we've had 7 drawdowns, I think, over the past 20 years,
I think it's,
right? Am I
I think
close?
it's 7.
Am I close?
I think it's a little less.
So, and I don't mean to be pointed when I say this, why don't we take the data back then?
Probably because no one stood up to pay for it. It cost money.
No, I don't think it would have cost that much back then as it probably would have today, but here's a situation where we had all this other drawdowns happening in the slate. And we sadly, and it's our fault, and I'm saying our fault, I'm not saying the board, I'm saying it's the community's fault, for somebody saying, let's track some data here to see what's happening.
And not just
we don't
data
have
on
any
the
data.
amount of milfoil.
Huh?
I said, and not just the data on the amount of
Oh, no.
milfoil.
The whole lake, the salinity, everything, right? Everything. We didn't do anything for 7 drawdowns.
Well, let's
Shame
do a
on us as a
drawdown and study
community.
it. Let's do a drawdown now and study
So,
it.
No, because then you don't have the before. Let's just move on, okay? We've beat this horse. So,
but thank you
If-
everybody for your
yeah,
comment.
if anybody wants to, if you're all willing to stay for the rest of this meeting, then you're welcome to stay. I will give people the opportunity, if they were here just solely for drawdown, I'll give you the opportunity to depart. I'll give you a few, yeah. Since Mike left, we gotta wait till he gets back anyway.
Yes. Yes, Pete.
Debbie, can I say something, and I promise I won't mention the word milfoil?
Okay?
I just wanted to respond to, sorry, what's your name?
Lori.
Lori and I disagree just about on everything, but I did want to make the point, she made a good point about leaky septic systems. The Clinton County has a fund, there's $280,000 in it right now. And it's available for people that are within a certain distance of Shazy Lake and other lakes in the area to have your septic system replaced. It's a matching fund up to $10,000. So if you spend $10,000, you'll get $5,000. If you spend $20,000, you'll get $10,000. If you spend $30,000, you'll get $10,000, and so on. So the maximum is $10,000. And it's a very simple form that you have to fill out, and it's first come, first served. It's not need-based or anything like that. So I would really recommend people take advantage of it, because if you take $280,000 and you divide it by 10,000, that means that there's only 28, grants left. And that's for all the lakes other than Lake Champlain in Clinton County. So I would highly recommend people fill out that application, get it in, because it's first come, first served.
We're doing it ourselves. Yeah.
Okay.
it's-
And
Thank-
I ordered
thank you, Mark.
septic tank testing tabs just today. They should be arriving anytime if anybody's interested in checking their system.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy. Okay, all right, we're moving on. Water District number 1 update. Are people, okay. I'm sorry, but
Then take it easy.
okay. Water District number 1 update. As we alluded to earlier, we had another break in the water line in Lime Mountain across from the store. Again, in the Gullivat's front yard. So, once again, they have a nice, yeah, it was about 7 feet from the last break. So we're doing some more research on that. It broke in the same place, and it appears it's on the seam of, these are like these thick plasticky pipes. It's on the seam. We're doing some investigating. Talked to a guy that deals in this stuff, and they're looking down the avenue of it being the chlorine that's being used might be eating up the seals that, or where they put it together, because there are other places that are having the same issue, having these pipes split like this. So that's the second break. We're talking, I mean, it costs us $10,000 to $15,000 every time one of these things breaks. So, and that's been 2 this year in the same place, just 7 feet apart. So hopefully we don't get another one, but yeah, that's an issue we're dealing with in the Lime Mountain Water District. So, sir?
Is it a lengthwise split or circumference?
It's along the length of it.
So that shouldn't be a seal, that should be,
It's,
that's your pipe.
That's
Or
the
manufacturer problem, and that's manufacturing problem.
yeah, it's a manufacturing
Yeah.
problem, yeah, it's where
Where it goes,
where it's
they
been melted
form
together to form
look the
the
same.
pipe, it's coming apart there. So, so that bill wasn't in this month's bills, unfortunately.
We actually have the sample of the pipe if you're looking to look at
Yeah.
it, so.
Veterans Park update. I know there hasn't been any action on it, and there's a reason for that. I'm gonna be meeting with Docs. We had talked about putting a handicap area in there, and frankly, the best place for it is that low part between the pump house and where it gets real swampy down in the Veterans Park. So I'm meeting with the First Step tomorrow to discuss it, to see if the state will let us do it there. And that'll make it a lot easier, plus it'd be a lot better of a drive in and out of there. So we are working on it, it's just, we're moving slow, so, and in the meantime, we're not putting up the silt fence so that there's still access to that part of the lake. FEMA update. Again, the repairs are scheduled in September. I talked an awful lot about FEMA already. They are currently, we had an estimate done on what it would cost to do the repairs on the concrete. And FEMA has that estimate in their hands right now. They're going, we're just waiting for them to come back to us. I say waiting, it takes them probably a month or 2 to give us a decision back, at least. And then I'm sure they're gonna ask us for more documentation and paperwork, because that's the way it's been going. Hopefully we can hear back soon and we can let everyone know what's going on with that. Sand hauling. As of the end of August, They had taken 25,446 tons, which is about on par with how they were last year. We're pretty much even with their hauling from last year. They still have one more year on this contract. I know discussions have been made in here about, you know, when are they gonna stop taking it? We're running out of, you know, that pile's getting too small, so on and so forth. This contract is still through, and just to remind people, that contract does give us $400,000 to $500,000 a year. That goes into our general fund, which is why the town of Danamora's general fund amount is 60 cents per thousand for our taxes instead of $2.20 per thousand like Saranac or other towns. So we use it to lower our tax rates. We're looking for other sources of income to come into the town with various things to make up with that, because I think we all agree that once this contract is done, we need to shut off the pipeline of sand, or else it would be really sad in 20 years if this town has to go out and buy sand someplace after we had multiple
Are you talking
lifetime
more sand?
supplies of them.
I'm talking more sand.
Yeah. Security cameras at the beach/dam. Jason, you wanna talk about
They
that?
finished up today, they're all up and running, and they did a really good job, and hopefully I have no issues.
Yep, so we have cameras, pretty much covers the whole beach area, shoots down toward
Covers
the
the
east.
dam.
It also shoots off the back of the bathrooms. We can see the spillway, we can see the gatehouse,
It's really sad, we gotta put a camera on people and
Yep.
kids, but the time,
That was what,
the
10,000?
time that we're in now, and
the
people running
resolution
around
is
picking
awesome.
kids up and-
About
So
$10,000, right?
For that?
That was
It's about 8.
8?
8 for that.
Yeah, you just said the resolution is,
Awesome. It's
because when we
wonderful.
put cameras in the town of Skylar Falls at the town hall, the resolution, you could see a car come in the parking lot, but you couldn't, we didn't get a plate, we got the make and color, you couldn't see the person, and they went in and destroyed the playground right there at the town hall, and because the resolution wasn't high enough, we couldn't.
Yeah, this resolution, you can tell the color of people's eyes.
And that's what happened, and for anybody that doesn't know, that's what originally happened, is we had like $9,000 worth of damage at the beach. Somebody busted in and busted the doors, and windows.
And we're gonna actually discuss changing the cameras on this building, because we have those crappy cameras on this building where we had the guy that came and did whatever behind the building. We could see his face, we could see the make of the vehicle, but we couldn't make out license plates. I mean, the resolution was just not good enough, so.
We ask you too to keep your ears open. We still don't know who damaged the
Well,
beach, and
we kinda know,
Got
but
an
they
idea,
didn't.
kinda, but we still have enough information to point the finger, so.
Yeah,
You know, sometimes loose lips happen over time, so if you hear something, just please call Debbie and let us know we hear something so we can investigate it.
yeah. Because we still, you know, it did cost, our insurance company covered 5,000. I mean, we covered 5,000 because our deductible with that insurance company was 5,000. But, you know, they covered the rest, but it's still, that's 5,000. So the investment, and kudos to Jason for finding this company, and, you know, he was there watching them and everything, looked over the project, whatnot. He's very involved in it, so thank you, Jason, very much.
That goes into a database here in the town hall.
No, that one is,
Records, I mean,
It records, it's set up over there, and it's gonna record all the time there. If we wanted to, we could put a thumb drive and then bring it over here and do it, but we can go over there and research
just
all it. Just because
records
there's no
there.
Wi-Fi there.
yeah, it's
It
an
would've cost a
issue.
lot, it would've cost a lot more money to.
So it goes into a hard drive, so it's not anything that's erased every 30 days.
No, it's retrievable all the time.
No,
So you
it'll
change the thumb drive over.
It'll go like 3 or 4 months on there.
Yeah, so, you know, it's not something that we're gonna look and monitor, but if something happens,
Right, you can go
we
back.
can go back, and when it will like start to re-record once it's, you know,
After
3-4 months later, but it's gonna start at the
Beginning.
oldest stuff. So, you know,
So
we
if it
go
started
there.
today, August 28th, October 28th, or November 28th, it might start recording over the stuff that happened
Correct.
August 28th. Okay.
Correct.
And of course, this will be functional all year round because we have to keep the gates open all year round. So again, that's something that, and it covers every inch of the beach and the playground and down the mall and down toward the gates. So that's a good thing. It's a bad thing that we have to do it, and it's a good thing that it's installed. NYSERDA grant, I think I talked a little bit about it last month, that we had been approved for the grant, so I did all the paperwork, had to do a bunch of homework. This grant was specifically for replacing our gas-powered, it's a clean energy grant, replacing our gas-powered lawn equipment with battery or electric. And so we did get the $10,000 grant. So we're going to be getting pole saws, chainsaws, and a snow blower, blowers, all the things, push lawnmower. It's very important. Two of the most important things that we're getting are the battery-powered chainsaw and pole saws that the men can have in their trucks when they're plowing, instead of having to carry a gas-powered chainsaw in the cab with them. They'll now have these battery-powered ones, so if there's a tree down or a limb that's overhanging the road, they can take care of it and not have to drive around with smelling gas and oil, and plus obviously it's more ecologically sound to have these. So as soon as they send me excuse me?
Is the town putting in anything else, or are you just gonna spend the $10,000 of the grant?
We're
trying to stay under.
Yeah, we're actually, it came up to $10,147 what I ordered, or what I told them that we would buy.
Okay.
We don't have to buy it from where I had to print out things from Home Depot, Amazon, and all the places that you can buy these things with the prices on them. But they said we don't have to go to those places. So I know locally, when I told the men that we were going to get that one, they were very excited. They didn't have to carry gas-powered stuff in their cab or their truck anymore. And also they're like, hey, if we go to Dominic's and we buy this, they're going to give us a free this. And so we'll try to do some multiplying of our assets with this once we get it. So, okay. So, follow-up steps to the short-term rental law, which there are many. I have the address labels for every lakefront owner on Shazy Lake and Chateauguay Lake. Right now, there's 302 of them that will be getting letters informing them that if you are a rental, whatever. We're not going to just stick with lakefront, but that's the biggest issue right now. Letting them know where to go to look for the application, the law, what they have to do, so on and so forth. I've been talking with Shane Rollich, who's our code enforcement officer, who will have a big part in making this work, because he will be the one going out, doing the inspections, etc. So we are moving on that.
When is that law effective?
Probably will be 1 January. I mean, we said effective once we receive it back, but obviously we have to give people the notification and whatnot. So we get all the letters out in the next week. Everybody will have been notified that if you're renting your property, you need to do this within 30 days. You need to contact the code enforcement officer, get the application and all of that good stuff.
Is that on your website?
Excuse me?
Is that on your website?
The law is, and the application is. The drafts are on there. We'll replace them. We haven't gotten back. Did you just get it back? Okay, so we just got back we really can't put a law into effect until we get something back from the state saying, yay, verily, we've got it filed, now you can proceed with doing this law. So she just got that back this week, right?
Oh, no, a couple weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, it was quick. Sorry.
But we'll get the letters out, and probably 1 January, because there are people who rent their places year-round. And once again, the law, the only restrictions with the law is to make sure that you're renting a property that is safe and secure for your renters. So the law talks about things like fire extinguishers, egress, all these things that you are expected to have in your own home, a way to get out of bedrooms, a way to the fire, smoke detectors, CO2 detectors, fire extinguishers, that kind of thing. Talks about, making sure your garbage is in a sealed container so that wildlife doesn't screw it all over. Talks about contacting your neighbors if you are renting, to make sure your neighbors know that it's not you in the home that you're renting. Talks about people having somebody to be able to respond within 2 hours if something happens at that property. Who's in charge that we can contact within a 2-hour period. It's things like that. We're not saying you can't do it. We're not saying you can only do it this many times. It's just to make sure that you're doing it in a safe way so that it doesn't blow back on the community. That, something happens, someone rents a 2-bedroom cabin to 18 college kids so they can have a party. Something terrible goes on. Something, happens that is going to go say, why wasn't the community aware? Why didn't you make sure that, that this was being done safely, securely? So.
Who's enforcing that?
Excuse me,
Who enforces it?
Well, the code enforcement officer will do the initial inspection of the home, and you'll say, and then quite frankly, it's the people, your neighbor is going to probably enforce it. If you have, if you rent your property and people are partying at 2 o'clock in the morning and shooting off fireworks or something, and your neighbor calls us and says, hey, this is going on, or,
So the neighbors would call you, I would call you, or I would call sheriff's department?
Depending what it is, if it's something like, that's
Criminal, is call the sheriff?
yeah.
If it's zoning, call you.
If it's something that, they said that they were only gonna rent to, that the cabin next door is a 2-bedroom place, and you see 14 cars parked there, well, obviously, they're,
But if I own it, I can have 40 people at my house, right? Without anybody making a stink?
if you own the house and you have guests over,
Yeah. But if I rent it out and they have more than,
because you're taking the responsibility for the people that are in your home.
Is there anything in there that addresses the septic systems other than the occupancy?
It's no occupancy. So if it's a 2-bedroom house, then the code enforcement officer will say their maximum occupancy in this house if you're renting it is
X.
Right, but I mean, there's
8
nothing
people.
in there that states that you need a certificate from the county stating that your septic system is up to date for this rental?
No, as long as, if it's a 2-bedroom and they have a septic system that's for a 2-bedroom house, then.
But we won't know that though,
Yeah.
because we're not requiring any documentation.
No, we're not at this time. If there's an issue, if the code enforcement officer goes out there and there's a big wet mound on the side of the house, obviously he's gonna call the county. We really can't do anything with septic, but we'd have to call the health department and have them come in and investigate. So, I hate to say it, but most of these things, like these letters I'm gonna send out, I know there's people that don't live on the lake that do the same thing. This is a very nice area to be in. So if you own a cabin that's up in the woods and you're renting out, you're in the same thing, you have to do that. So if you know people that are renting, that it's been on our website and whatnot, but obviously we can't know everybody who basically rents their property out all year round. And I'm not asking anyone to be a snitch, but if you, if there's an issue, if you know that there's a place that has always been an issue, then just let us know. I mean, and we can have the code enforcement officer go out and make sure that things are being done safely and whatnot, so. Other. Dog shelter. We brought to this meeting about 3-4 months ago that Elmore's could no longer be our shelter. They, with the new regulations, they only have the room to shelter 12 dogs in their facility. So the people in this county were at a real quandary because most of the towns used Elmore. And so they basically sent us a letter saying as of September 1st, we're done, we'll refund whatever we paid them. So we did have somebody, Jody Perrier, who is the dog control officer for Plattsburgh, Beekmantown, Champlain, Shazy, and West Shazy maybe, I don't know. He's got 5 towns anyway. And he has been interested in having a shelter himself for years. So he finally pulled the trigger and bought a place that he is going to run as a shelter. Very respectable guy, very animal oriented, but it's going to cost us, and it's going to cost everybody. It's a startup. He just bought it. He's got a mortgage, whatnot. So it's going to cost us for the rest of this year. For the 4 months left this year, it's going to be $4,000. And then it's going to be, next year, it's going to be $10,000 for the year. And as he gets more towns to commit to using him, which I think once he gets up and running, they will. He can lower it down as we go along.
So that's a flat fee whether we need the shelter or not?
Yes, I had a discussion with him today. But by law, New York State requires that we have a shelter that will accept, and he does dangerous dogs. And he does, that $10,000 is our, I hate to use the word only, but our only cost. You know, if Danielle brings him a dog that's injured and he needs vet care, he covers that. He contacts the owners. He takes care of, if there is no owner that